Next up, John Dryden, How Not to Change the World. I think he might be an evil supervillain? Go for it.
Hi, how you guys doing? All right. I am going to tell you how not to change the world, how to maintain the status quo, how to be completely ineffectual. So, who among us has actually wanted to change the world, has actually wanted to be a Gandhi, a Martin Luther King, a Bill Gates, right? I sure have. But guess what? If I were to give you advice, I would pretty much guaranteed lead you astray. But what I have done is identified 5 key steps that will allow you to be completely ineffectual, to fly under the radar, and to continue maintaining the status quo. First thing you got to do, isolate yourself from the world. Second thing, find distractions. Third, ignore changes going around, ignore the world around you. Fourth, disappoint your customers. And finally, at the end of the day, give up. First, you got to isolate yourself. Don't reach out to smarter people or more experienced people for advice, for mentorship. None of that. No. Just go it alone, like this guy walking down the street. Take Tony Stark. He was imprisoned in a desert cave. He built one of the most potent weapons of all time, the Iron Man suit, if you're not familiar with it. Never mind the fact that he was a fictional comic book character. He did it by himself. Now, in my own experience, I was working on a project, banging my head against the wall, spent countless hours on Google, not leveraging the experience that a consulting professor on our team had, not leveraging any of his advice or his ability, and that just worked out great. The next step is to find distractions for yourself. Find small, easy tasks, things that make you look busy, look productive, because that's what everyone wants to see. And a perfect example of this, Angry Birds. You can actually put Angry Birds on your phone, carry it with you wherever you go, look busy because you're on your phone, you look like you're typing a text message to somebody important, you're just playing Angry Birds. And in my own experience, I found smaller tasks to keep me busy. Within the project, there were always small things to do, but what I was really doing was avoiding that white whale. I was ignoring the real problem, and that, again, that just worked great. Speaking of ignoring things, you really have to adopt this philosophy that the world is not changing, that you never have to reevaluate your assumptions, and that data, once you collect it, it's always going to be valid. Perfect example of this, you're all familiar, I'm sure, with President Dewey, who defeated Truman in 1948. And it turns out that they actually printed this headline before they had gotten any poll results. So you can see where using old data can lead you. In my own example, I was using data that was 6 months old on a project that was sort of ongoing, not realizing that everything had changed. And even though I redesigned the experiment, ultimately, I had a lot of wasted cycles, wasted time in there. Which brings me to my fourth point. You really want to disappoint your customers. This is great. It's actually a double whammy. On the one hand, you're setting an expectation, and then on the other hand, you're failing to meet that. So you're really socking your customer in the gut twice. It's just great. Case in point, May 1st, 2003, George W. Bush delivers the mission accomplished speech. 8 years later, to the day, Osama bin Laden is killed. And on a serious note, I would like to thank all our servicemen and women who helped make that happen. In my own experience with disappointing customers, I found that a really effective way to accomplish it was giving random answers when people ask you a question. Great way. Finally, you just got to give up. Throw your hands up in the air, say, you know what? I can't do this. Smarter people haven't solved it. Why am I going to? And didn't you say there were easier tasks anyway, easier stuff to do? Why not? You all know who this is, right? Harlan Sanders, Colonel Sanders. He actually did not start KFC until his 65th birthday, until he got his first Social Security check. Now, technically, he didn't give up, but he sure waited a long time to get started. And finally, what resulted in my own experience, I didn't get fired, fortunately, But I did get reassigned. Basically, we ended up deciding that the status quo was good enough, which completely unsatisfactory in my opinion. But so in review, the 5 steps to complete mediocrity are isolation, distraction, ignoring changing conditions, disappointing customers, and finally, just giving up. And now, last but not least, I had an extra slide left over, and I'm going to make you all an offer. For the first person who can tell me who this guy is and why I put him up, and why I put him up on as the last slide of this presentation, I'll buy your first drink. Thank you.